Welcome to the Lincoln City Council meeting of December 6th, 2021. In accordance with LB 898, please be advised that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted at the back of the chamber by the northwest door. Let us all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a brief period of silent meditation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The order of business of the City Council is as follows. The clerk will call the items listed on the agenda. Under public hearing, anyone wishing to speak on an item should come forward after the clerk reads that item. The council shall require any member of the public desiring to address the council to identify themselves, the name of an organization or group, including an address that you may be representing by such person or group, unless the address requirement is waived to protect the security of the individual. The applicant may then make one short rebuttal. Each speaker should begin by stating their name, address, organization, or group, and whether you are speaking in favor of or in opposition to that item. Testimony is limited to 5 minutes per speaker. After all public hearings, the council will vote on resolutions and items listed under third reading. On the second and last Mondays of the month, immediately prior to adjournment, anyone may speak on any issue not on the agenda for that date nor planned for a future agenda. Will the clerk please call the first item of business?
Our first item of business for today's agenda, December 6, 2021, is our Mayor's Award of Excellence.
Good afternoon, Chairman Bowers, members of the council. Thanks for having me down today to do the Mayor's Award of Excellence. I'm really pleased to present the award for May of 2021. Again, we're still playing a little catch up. To paralegal Tiffany Leisure of the City Attorney's Office Civil Law Division. She was nominated by her coworkers Abby Luttrell and Jocelyn Golden, who are here today, in the categories of customer relations and productivity for her hard work coordinating a very large electronic discovery production project. And those who nominated her wrote that Leisure excels in supporting the 10 attorneys in our civil division. She monitors civil litigation to ensure that all deadlines are met, and she's really proactive in identifying hurdles and solutions in complex legal matters. She's also an expert in legal electronic discovery. That's the process of identifying, collecting, and producing the city's electronically stored information. And at the end of 2020 and into 2021, Ms. Leisure coordinated a very large electronic discovery project that began with the collection of more than 500,000 electronic documents from the city's Information Services Division. And she then entered this enormous data set into a specialized and complex software system that she is an expert in operating. Her work to manage, to organize, and to evaluate the sizable amount of data made it possible for the attorneys to access the data for easy review and decision making. Her nominators wrote that in every step of this process, she executed flawlessly due to her time, talent, and attention to detail. And she executed this job while also performing her regular job duties. They wrote that, quote, "We believe the city of Lincoln is truly at the forefront of this aspect of modern complex litigation, and that would not be possible without Tiffany's ambition, intelligence, work ethic, and competency." So I hope you'll join me in congratulating Tiffany Leisure for her work to deliver on the City of Lincoln's commitment to transparency. And City Attorney Johansi Christie is going to come up next for a few words, and then we'll have Ms. Leisure herself.
Good afternoon. It is my honor and privilege to talk about Tiffany. It's not every day that we talk about the law department. Tiffany's a very hard worker, very reliable, detail-oriented, and really overall it's just a pleasure to work with. As you know, technology dominates every aspect of our lives, and that is true at the law department. And as you know, we provide services to the city as a whole, which involves lots of technology. She has gone the extra mile, received additional training to better understand the ever-evolving world of technology that we live in. She is hugely responsible for helping us as a law department and thus the city stay at the forefront of technology and all of its developments. She consistently helps our city attorneys be in the best position possible to conduct their necessary attorney reviews. And again, she had to educate herself in this area, both the law and technology. And so we are extremely, extremely grateful. Just one of the many dedicated city employees that are working tirelessly behind the scenes on behalf of the city. So thank you, Tiffany. It is a pleasure to work with you. Congratulations.
I hadn't really prepared anything to say, but I do want to thank everybody who works in the law department. It is an absolutely fantastic office to work with. I don't know if people realize what a great team we have up there. Really just an amazing bunch of folks. But special thanks to Abigail and Jocelyn for nominating me. I know that you guys do not have extra time in your day, but you took some extra time for me, so thank you. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you so much for all that you do for our city. Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda for today is our consent agenda, sections 1 and 2.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak on any of these items for items 1 or 2? Seeing no one, we'll go ahead and move on.
Okay, we can vote on these items. Item 1A is reappointing Jeffrey Johnson to the Electrical Advisory Appeals and Examining Board for a term to expire August 15, 2023, introduced by Shob.
So moved.
Moved and seconded by Councilman Beckius. Any discussion? Seeing none, may I please call the roll?
Raybold?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Shob?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1B is reappointing John Whitmer to the Electrical Advisory Appeals and Examining Board for a term to expire August 15, 2024, introduced by Shob.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Councilman Beckius. Any discussion? Seeing none, may I please call the roll?
Washington?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Shob?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1C is reappointing Sherry Block, Carlos Garcia, and Terry Werner to the Commission on Human Rights for terms to expire December 31st, 2024, introduced by Shob.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Councilwoman Washington. Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to bring a motion to amend number 1 on this item. It's to substitute another motion. It's just cleaning it up.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Councilman McGinnis. Councilwoman Washington, would you like to speak on your motion?
No, this is just a simple cleanup of this. It doesn't change anyone.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, may we please vote on the motion to amend?
Ward?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Shob?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Okay, now back to the main motion. Any discussion on the main motion? Okay, seeing none, may we please have a vote on the main motion?
Ward?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Shob?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1D is reappointing Sarah Gower, Josephine Rodriguez, Nicole Trevina Flores, and Kathleen Ermarker to the Commission on Women and Gender for terms to expire November 23rd, 2024, introduced by Shob.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Councilwoman Raybold. Any discussion? Councilman Shob?
This one and the previous thing are two of my favorites. I'm excited to see people serving on these two boards.
Awesome, awesome. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, may I please call the roll?
Beckius?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Shob?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1E is reappointing Kenneth J. Brownell, Thad Feinerin and Marcy Haas to the Veterans Memorial Garden Advisory Council for terms to expire November 1st, 2024. Introduced by Shob.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Councilman Beckius. Any discussion? Seeing none, may I please call the roll?
Ward,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Shob,
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 1F is resolution levying the assessments approved by the City Council, sitting as the Board of Equalization on November 22nd, 2021, and setting the interest rate on those assessments for the cost of the improvements in the Downtown Management Business Improvement District, Downtown Core Management Business Improvement District, Downtown Maintenance District, and the West Haymarket Downtown Maintenance District, introduced by Ward.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Councilman McGinnis. Any discussion? Seeing none, may I please call the roll?
McGinnis,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Shob,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Items 2A through 2I was introduced by Shob.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Councilwoman Washington. Any discussion? Seeing none, may I please call the roll?
Shob,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. That ends our consent agenda. Our next section will be Section 4, Public Hearing Liquor Resolutions. I'll be calling items 4A and 4B together. Application of Diamond Coatings LLC, doing business as Double Eagle Golf Simulation for a Class I liquor license located at 150 Southwest 14th Place, Suite 101, and the related manager application of Chad A. Teitmeyer.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak on this item?
Come on down.
Well,
Please-
is that really,
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
there's really not much to say. I'm looking for,
I don't know if she has.
I'm going to swear you in, so if you can raise your right hand and repeat after me, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth as you verily believe it to be?
yes.
Thank you.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about your application?
What?
Would you like to tell us a little bit about your application?
It's actually fairly simple. I'm applying for a liquor license to be a bar, but not a bar, I guess. I'll try to explain that. The concept of the business is the golf simulation concept, to where the people come in, they play golf, they have a few drinks, whatever, and then they leave. And really, they're in there for, say, an hour and a half at a time. Okay, that's who I'm serving to. I'm not going to have stools or anything at the bar or seating for outside people to come in. There are lots of choices long before they get to me. Long before they get to me, if they just want to drink whatever. And they will do it once because they won't let me prices. I don't have to compete with the other bars, so I can charge a little bit extra. That's a nutshell.
Perfect. Are there any questions at this time? Councilwoman Raybold?
So your concept, is that unique to Lincoln? Are you the only one that does this with a golf simulation? And
I'm currently the only one who does it. There was a time a few months ago at the, thank you, at the Graduate Hotel. What they did is there was a restaurant inside of there. They took part of the restaurant away and added 2 simulators. They charged a lot, in my opinion, but whatever. And they were packed constantly. They have, rumor has it, they have since sold the restaurant, and thus the square footage for the simulators, that also went. Rumor has it, they want to put them back in. They have backing from Top Flight out of Omaha, around the country actually. And they want to do that in a lot of hotels around the country. This is kind of a test bed, see if it is going to fly or not. So eventually, I assume that 2 of them will go back in. Assumption.
okay, thank you.
There's other places. There was one in Grand Island, in North Fork, and in Omaha.
Any further questions? Okay, Councilman, we'll go Councilman Shob, and then we'll go Councilman Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Did you want this, Council? I'll go. So, I'll push the button too. That helps a lot, doesn't it? Yeah. So how big is your facility? How many people can golf at a time?
No problem.
And how do I get there?
I'll start in reverse order. The location is basically the Connect Center, which if you go down West O, you hit like the Red Fox, turn right behind the Red Fox, and you go about 100 yards, and it's a huge, huge building. Like 8 full-size basketball courts under one roof.
Yes.
Huge. I'm leasing out a suite in that building, right on the front corner. The other questions were what?
How many golfers can you handle at a time? And-
Oh, yes. Not many, unfortunately. What I'm planning on doing for the square footage that I have, which is about 45 by 95, but by the time you add 2 bathrooms, a bar, and whatever else, you're really cut down on square footage. You can get 5 simulators in there. And assuming you're going to have some twosomes, some foursomes, families, whatever, and plus employees, assuming you're at the end of an hour, so you have some people waiting to go on the line as well as people leave, you're looking at maybe 24 people. Not many.
And one more question, if you allow me. What are your hours of operation? When can I
Right
come?
now, they're going to be 10 to 10 because after 10 o'clock at night, you're not golfing. And before 10 o'clock, that may change because I know a lot of people older than me like to have 7:30, 8 o'clock tee times. So I will evaluate that and I may reduce my hours to 8 o'clock, 7:30 to accommodate their time frames.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, sir.
Councilwoman Washington?
And when do you open for business?
We're going to assume right now March.
Okay, thank you. Good luck.
With the construction and everything, they keep kind of moving it back a little bit. Originally, it was going to be January 1,
Yep, sounds about
and now we're in March.
Good luck.
Any further questions for this applicant? No. Okay, seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on? Is there anyone else that speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on.
We can vote on this item.
Home button. Mr. Chair, seeing no one else coming forward, I'd like to move approval of both these items.
Second?
Thank you, Ms. Raybold.
Moved by Councilman Shope, seconded by Councilwoman Raybold. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, may you please call the roll?
Raybold?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Schob? Beckius?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
It works.
We can move on to our next section. It'll be section 5, our public hearing resolutions. Item 5A is accepting and approving the report of new and pending claims against the city for November 1st through November 15th, 2021.
Is there anyone that would like to speak on this item? I feel like we received an email from someone that,
Thoroughly.
We did receive an email, but I didn't see their item on our
Okay.
agenda.
all right. Is there anyone else?
Litigation, right?
Is there anyone else here that would like to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on. Wait, hang on one second. Do you have a,
He was talking.
okay.
Okay. Let's move on.
It's Mercedes.
Good afternoon. I'm Rosa La Puente. How are you guys?
Hi, how do you do?
Great. Thank you, Chair Bowers and City Council members. Like I said, my name is Rosa La Puente. I work for Thomas Campbell Law Office. And I am here to address an item that we actually had a lady, her name is Mercedes Ramirez. And she actually went to the ER earlier before this accident I'm about to tell you. She went to the emergency room with an abdominal pain. And instead of going home with her own vehicle, because she doesn't have the resources, instead of having a friend picking her up, she decided to take the bus system. During this opportunity that she took the bus system, the bus made several stops, some scheduled, some not scheduled. Another vehicle, and I want to use a couple of exhibits, and I can pass those around. I'm not sure how you guys want me to pass those on to you guys. And I think I can use this as well, right?
Yes.
Help me
Thank
with
you.
how to use technology, that'd be wonderful.
You just wait and it'll turn on.
Perfect.
Thanks.
So the first page that you do have, I'll move this a little bit closer here, is actually how the accident happened. The bus was stopped. Like I said, the stop before this was a not scheduled stop, but in this one, he did stop at the actual stop for picking up passengers. This other vehicle, because he saw the bus not stopping on schedules, and went around him and hit the actual bus. So the person that hit the bus ran away. It's a hit and run. So what I'd like you to see a couple of items in the next page is you and I, as drivers of vehicles, we are required by Nebraska, not all states do this, but Nebraska, I think, offers this great requirement of a minimum of $25,000 per incident if it's a hit and run. I have actually underlined that. And it's for uninsured motorist vehicles. So if somebody hits you right now as you're leaving Lincoln and going home, if they don't make themselves responsible, you have a minimum coverage on your own vehicle policy, which is great. If she would have chose a taxi or some other form of transportation, also, as you can see on the next page, anybody who is, a motor carrier or a taxi, like I mentioned, also will be required $25,000 minimum, except the bus system. A motor carrier operated by a city that is engaged in the transportation of passengers. That is the only one in here, the only mode of transportation she could have used that actually doesn't cover her. If we go to the next page, like I mentioned in here too, the taxis are all, they will have this minimum of $25,000 or $50,000 per vehicle or more. So let me go to the last page so I don't have to bore you guys with some of this detail. This is her total of injuries that Mercedes had. It's about $8,000. I was offered $500. And the reason I was offered $500 is because the city is not required to have an uninsured because it is self-insured. Regardless of the liability, whether it was the bus driver's responsibility or was it the other person's responsibility, like I mentioned, if you and I get into a vehicle accident and it's a hit and run, your insurance covers the passenger. The passenger was there at no fault, okay? If it's a taxi, the passenger is covered. The bus, the person who doesn't have a car or didn't have a friend to pick her up from the ER, goes into the bus system, she falls down of her chair and lands on her knees, and she's offered $500. So I would like to appeal to the city council members that she gets paid, her medical bills plus a compensation, how is usually done for anybody. The city should be setting an example in here, and Nebraska requires us to have this $25,000 minimum. Why would the city react different in the same scenario?
Are there any questions at this time? Okay. So we'll happen. Do you have a question? Councilman Washington?
Thank you for coming down. I have a question about the $500 offer. When did the city offer you $500?
I would say about 3 to 4 months ago in the summer, late summer.
And was it verbal or in writing?
In writing. Yes. And I talked to Abigail. Okay. So then she said because the bus driver wasn't at fault in this case, we can debate that. My understanding is, again, if you and I have a hit and run, it doesn't matter who's at fault. As a passenger, you're covered. And I hate to say this, but actually on that rule, the school bus are not covered. I wonder if children, my friends' children, are actually covered if this happens on a school bus. So if somebody else hits and run, so I like that as a pending item from a public safety perspective that I know, Chair Bowers, you're so involved in. So I think that's a risk that we have, and we need to take care of the passengers. The passengers are there just because she's a person with probably low income that doesn't have a car and didn't have a friend. Why she should have different rules than the rest of us.
Any further questions?
No.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. So, your client took the bus instead of an ambulance to go to the hospital?
No, it was on
No.
her way back.
It was on her way
She
back.
actually was going into the hospital earlier that morning for abdominal pain. She was going back home in the bus system, and then the bus got into a car accident, and she went back to the ER, seen by the same doctor, actually, just a few hours later, and this is what happened.
Do you have any medical records from when your client went to the went back to the hospital for for her injury?
Absolutely. Yeah, those have all been submitted to a Big L. I have it with me.
You have it with you?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to put it up on the record. Okay. I might have
yes.
another question. So what's probably going to happen next is then someone from the city is going to come up, provide a response to some questions that we're going to have, and then you'll have an opportunity to provide a rebuttal to that.
Okay.
So you'll have another opportunity to speak.
So do you want me to go back, or do you want me to?
I would go and go have a seat, and then
Okay.
we'll invite someone from the city to come up and answer some of our questions, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hansi Christie, City Attorney, 555 South 10th. You didn't call me up here, but I assume you would like me to.
Yes, please.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
I will just start off by stating that some of the, in these type of situations, what the one of the main things the law department will consider is obviously the law, and then with that also whether we believe that the city is liable. And the conclusion was that the city was not at fault at this with these particular circumstances, and also the statute that and I feel like she fairly summarized that it doesn't apply to the city. This specific statute that she was referencing that may apply to other entities does not apply to the city. I do not have the date for the offer of $500 in front of me, but I will tell you that, yes, I believe that that offer was made for $500.
Councilman Chobe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Christie, you referred to the statute as the representative did. So state law exempts the city from that? That's not really a city decision?
Correct.
So does the city often buck state law? Could we go more? Would we get in trouble for doing more?
So I have no problem diving into that deeper, but what I will tell you, generally speaking, the city can, it's sometimes it becomes a little more complicated, right? Because if the state has specifically addressed an issue, then it can be, if it's an issue of statewide concern and the state has addressed it, then it's difficult for us to come in and do anything different. But with that said, also generally speaking, the city can't allow something that the state prohibits. So those are kind of our two goalposts, if you will.
So if we tried to do something different, we'd be out of compliance with state law.
What I'm trying to say, and maybe I'm not being clear, is that I would want to specifically research whether we could do more on that specific topic. However, the state statute has specifically addressed it, and so I would just want to do a little bit more research to see whether we could go further on that specific topic. And I think what you're saying is, could we require what the state says we are exempt from?
Yeah.
So
one follow-up, can you give us some reference on how we came to the dollar amount as a settlement? I assume the applicant put in medical expenses and we determined that, for lack of a better word, our liability was only 500. Can you give me some idea how we got to that number?
What I can do is I can provide some information from the attorney that made that specific that made that dollar amount to have more details of how the $500, whether that was what that was specifically based upon, but what I will often tell you is that sometimes with these type of cases, the totality of circumstances are considered, and if there is a settlement that can be reached at a lesser amount, sometimes the city will offer that.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Ward?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was also going to ask what Councilman Showbest. No, that's very good, about the amount and how that $500 was derived, because as I look at the medical bills that were summarized, I don't know, there's no $500 amount there. I don't know if it's a percentage or what. So I too would be interested, Mr. Christie, as to how we came to that amount. If we could have that information, I think that would be helpful.
Certainly.
So, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Councilwoman Washington?
Thank you. And Mr. Christie, I have a couple other questions, taking a slightly different tact. So the city of Lincoln has paid on claims where there has been an accident involving a StarTran bus. I realize the circumstances of those cases would be different than this one, but I guess I'd like to understand where we make payment for accidents involving StarTran that are different than this situation of hit and run. And then if we have previous cases of hit and run, I'd like to know how those were settled and if they were offered some minimal amount of settlement. And I realize that all of this is going to take more than what you can provide right now. And so I would like to have an understanding of the time frame you would need to bring all this information back to us.
Certainly, I think that I would say we should be able to have everything within a week. Answers to your questions. So at the next council meeting, I think we can provide that.
Thank you.
Any further, Councilman Beckius?
Since it seems like you're going to be doing a little research anyway, could you also provide to the council, it says here that photographs were taken at the scene, any sort of repair damage that the city has on the bus itself, anything like that, because it doesn't seem as though this was a high rate of speed. So I'd be interested to know what kind of damage actually occurred to the city bus itself.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any further questions for the city attorney? Okay. Seeing none, thanks so much. Is there anyone else that, we'll call you up in like 1 second, but is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none. So we have the applicant come up, we have the city come up, open up for public hearing. I'll invite you back up to provide a rebuttal to provide any additional information that you would like to address at this time.
Thank you so much for taking the time to, to listen to what we have to say. So I think there's two items in here. One is Mercedes, accident, and then maybe from a Nebraska legislator, what we may have to do to cover ourselves in the future. Mercedes accident happened last year. These bills have not been paid yet. As you see, $500 does not cover even the ambulance transportation to them. Usually what happens when a small amount like that is offered is saying, well, I'm really not liable, but I'm going to give you $500 because I think I'm liable, but I'm not going to give you much. That's usually my experience that I see. If somebody's not liable, they don't offer you money. They just deny your claim. So when somebody offers you, it's because there's some responsibility. They just don't want to take a full responsibility of it. So my understanding is after I denied the $500 offer, I was told I need to come here to get this amount change. So that's when I'm here. I'm not sure how long that process takes. I'm curious to understand that. We live in Omaha. Obviously I don't want to come here all the time. I like to see your guys' faces, but so I like a resolution on this and understand what's next steps are.
Absolutely. So I'll address that a little bit. So what would happen is today, the options that are available to us is that either we would vote to remove your claim from the denied list, which means that the total amount would be provided to you. We could vote to delay your claim a week, so that way that gives the city time to gather more information and for the council to get more of our questions answered. It's never been done before, but I guess that we could also vote to provide a different dollar amount, or we would vote to approve your claim as being denied. So those are kind of the four options.
So the city has had this for over a year. So the information has been here since October 2020. You asked me for the medical bills. These are all the records of the medical bills that we have. Okay.
Are there any further questions for this applicant? No? Okay. So what I'm hearing you say is that you would not like a delay and that you would like action on this to happen today.
Correct.
What I am not providing legal advice in the slightest. I'm a social worker, so let's take that with a grain of salt. Well, I'm not
I'll
a legal
make a mental note of that.
But given that the council, has just seen that, what you've provided to us today, I don't know the best legal way. Councilman Washington.
Thank you very much, Councilman Bowers. I would ask that we had 1 week delay, so we move this from the report, give our city attorney a week to give us the answers to the questions we asked, and then bring this back next week. If that's inconvenient and there is another week that you'd like us to bring it back, we could, I'll be understanding of your having to come from Omaha.
No, obviously, one time is not going to. I just feel, this is a pretty clear case. Chevelle, the bus, all of us seem to have a different type of responsibility on the state of Nebraska. She's been hurt. We've been delaying this for a year for a $500 offer, a little bit of slap on the face. Let's just pay the lady and let's move on. It's not, when you ask, is the bus going to be extremely damaged? No, it was a hard stop. It wasn't a high speed or rate. But as you all know, we don't wear seatbelts, in a bus, so we easily fall. But $8,000 is not a lot, from a medical perspective. We're not talking about a $100,000 person that had a shoulder surgery or knee surgery. Gladly, these are not high medical bills. Thank you.
Any further questions at this time? Okay. I guess one follow-up question that I have for you. Are you alleging that the driver did anything wrong, or is it just that the city did not have the appropriate insurance?
My understanding from the person, Mercedes, is that there was some stops that were not on the right bus stop. Whether the bus driver did something wrong, we can debate that. I know the bus, from what my client has said, is that the bus told everybody what to write because each person writes what happened. But, that's why I didn't come here to debate whose fault is it, because the Nebraska legislature specifically says for all of us, regardless whose fault it is, we need to have an uninsured coverage of $25,000. So this person would have used any other form of transportation. If she would not have been low income using a bus transportation system, she would have been covered.
Okay. All right. Any further questions? Thank you so much for coming down.
Appreciate it.
And we'll vote on this issue when we get done with items, all of items in section 5. All right. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on item 5A? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 5B.
Item 5B is authorizing the issuance of multifamily housing revenue bonds in an aggregated principal amount not to exceed $30 million, provide funds to finance a portion of the cost of the acquisition, construction, and equipping of a 192-unit multifamily affordable housing project generally located at Southwest 27th and West B Streets.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Rogers with Gilmore & Bell, bond counsel to the city. Address 450 Regency Parkway, Omaha, Suite 320. This item is for, has been in front of council before the council approved an intent resolution to issue bonds for the benefit of this particular borrower, and also did a special designation of this project as being in a blighted area in order for the city to proceed to serve as issuer for these bonds. It's similar to the other housing finance projects you've looked at here during this last calendar year. This one is for an aggregate principal amount of $30 million. That is, there are two components of that: a tax exempt portion of $18 million and a taxable portion of $12 million. So normally the $18 million would be what's in front of you. Those are the bonds that needed to get approval through the Nebraska Investment Finance Authority for volume cap, since these bonds are going to benefit a for-profit entity. They are for housing that's required to be affordable housing, and rents that are required to be set at a rate under certain guidelines that govern affordable housing under the federal rules. The additional $12 million is a loan that the borrower is taking out under the same financing documents in order for the collateral to be to secure, and the real estate to secure the financings equally. So it's that brings it to a $30 million financing. Importantly, and I should have led with this, this loan and the financing does not bind the city for any pecuniary liability. If the borrower here were to not repay the loan, the city would not be obligated at all. The taxpayers would not be obligated. The city is serving in this role simply as conduit issuer in order to help facilitate the tax-exempt financing is the primary thing that's happening here. So with that, I will stop to see if there are any questions. I'm not sure if anyone from the developer is here. We have another item here for the VA campus, but for this one, I don't know that anyone from the annex group is here, so I will try to answer any questions you might have.
Are there any questions at this time? Okay, seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on item 5B? Okay, seeing none, we will go ahead and move on to item 5C.
Item 5C is approving the consultant agreement between the city and Walker Parking Consultants to provide forensic restoration services, condition assessments, and asset management planning for the City of Lincoln parking garages for a sum not to exceed $144,430.
Oh, good afternoon. Wayne Mixdorf, parking manager for the city. We are the, the parking division has brought this contract before you, this resolution before you for your approval. This is a 2-year contract, hence the reason that it's at council. And it is for the condition assessment of all of our parking garages. The final goal is to develop the immediate look at our garages, what needs to be repaired immediately, but also the development of a 5-year plan and even further a 10-year management plan of our maintenance program. We're hoping to be able to address issues before they become major, and certainly to minimize the cost of those issues as we move into the future. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Councilman McGinnis?
Yes, thank you so much for coming down, and thank you for all the hard work you do on these parking garages. I know keeping them up and running and up to date is not an easy thing to do. And I know you've used Walker in the past for a lot of items, and they've been good consultants, and you're very comfortable with them. Yeah. 2 questions. One, it says it's a lump sum contract. Does that mean you pay them at the end, or do you know?
It does not mean that we will pay them at the end. It does mean that we are agreeing to pay them the full amount.
And this is not to exceed amount.
That's correct.
But they still have to bring in how
Yes.
many hours they work and such.
Absolutely.
And they also work as construction management? Do they do any of that, or is that in separate funds?
That would be separate. They certainly do that. They have people on staff. They're certainly qualified for that. This particular contract doesn't require any contract management, although they would be writing the the specs for the bid for a general contractor to do the work in the initial phase.
Okay.
Any further questions?
No.
Okay, seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to 5D.
Item 5D is authorizing the issuance of multifamily housing revenue bonds, Victory Park View projects in an aggregated principal amount not to exceed $6 million, provide funds to finance a portion of the cost of the acquisition and rehabilitation of 94-unit multifamily housing project generally located at 600 South 70th Street.
Good afternoon, Mike Rogers with Gilmore and Bell, bond counsel to the city, address 450 Regency Parkway, Omaha, Suite 320. This is another housing finance bond issue that the city has seen before. This one is in a blighted area. There is a redevelopment contract, so you've seen this a number of times with respect to the VA campus redevelopment. The item here is for a $6 million conduit issue. These $6 million would be done tax exempt. It's received volume cap from the Nebraska Investment Finance Authority in order for these bonds to be issued as tax exempt bonds. And this is the final step in the process for this financing, the approval by the City Council, and then closing here in the next couple of weeks before December 20th. Georgia Chola from Burlington Capital Group is here as well if you, with the developer, if you have any questions for the developer. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer anything that you might have.
Are there any questions at this time? Councilwoman Raybold?
Thank you for coming down. The 94 units, will they be affordable housing like the other Vosh housing on the property?
My bones are creaking. Good afternoon, everybody. Georgia Chola, appearing on behalf of Victory Park. Yes, it would be 94 units of affordable housing. Yes.
Terrific, thank you.
Any further questions at this time? Okay. Seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on.
We can now vote on these items. Item 5A is accepting and approving the report of new and pending claims against the city for November 1st through November 15th, 2021, introduced by Shob.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Councilman Beckius. Any discussion? Councilwoman Washington?
Chairman Bowers, I ask that we remove the case regarding Ms. Ramirez from this docket and hold it until next week.
Okay.
A second.
Moved and seconded by Councilwoman Ward. Any discussion? Okay, so just to be clear, this would hold this specific case over till the next week, or we would then take action on it. Any further discussion on that? Okay, seeing none, can we do a motion on Councilwoman and Councilwoman Ward's motion to amend?
Raybold?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Shob?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
McGinnis?
No.
Bowers?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-1.
Okay, now back to the main motion. Any discussion on the main motion? Okay, seeing none, may I please call the roll?
Raybold?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Shob?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 5B is authorizing the issuance of multifamily housing revenue bonds, Union at Middle Creek project, in an aggregated principal amount not to exceed $30 million, provide funds to finance a portion of the cost of the acquisition, construction, and equipping of the 192-unit multifamily affordable housing project, generally located at Southwest 27th and West B Streets, introduced by Shob.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded by Councilwoman Raybold. Any discussion? Councilman McGinnis?
Yeah, this is a good project by a good group, and hopefully we can add some more of these around town as we move forward. And if we can be of any assistance on the bonding, that's great.
Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, may I please call the roll?
Raybold?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Shob?
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 5C is approving the consultant agreement between the city and Walker Parking Consultants to provide forensic restoration services, condition assessments, and asset management planning for the City of Lincoln parking garages for a sum not to exceed $144,430, introduced by Shob.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Councilman Beckius. Any discussion? Councilwoman Washington?
I just want to commend LTU for looking into contracts like this. The more that we can do to extend the life cycle of our parking garages and other municipal buildings by really looking at cyclic maintenance and getting us on track is a good thing. So thank you.
Any further comments? Okay, seeing none, may we please call the roll?
Ward,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Shob,
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 5D is authorizing the issuance of multifamily housing revenue bonds, Victory Parkview projects in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $6 million, provided funds to finance a portion of the cost of the acquisition and rehabilitation of 94-unit multifamily housing project generally located at 600 South 70th Street, introduced by Shob.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Councilman McGinnis. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, Councilwoman Ward? Councilman Becky?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank Burlington Capital and the other development team partners over the years. This has been a long time coming. This is such a great project on that campus and all affordable housing, and it certainly helps us get to those goals we all have been thinking about for a long time. So thanks for all the support and all the work you've done over the years, Mr. Chola, and you had a lot of partners I know along the way. So great project, very exciting, and it's great to see it come over the finish line. So thank you all, and all the city staff that made it happen as well. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Any further comments? Okay, seeing none, may we please call the roll?
Raybold,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Shob,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. We now move on to our Section 6 Resolutions Action Only. Item 6A is adopting Lincoln Electric System Annual Budget for 2022 to become effective January 1st, 2022, introduced by McGinnis.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Councilman Beckius. Any discussion? Okay, seeing
Oh,
Councilman McGinnis.
Yeah, real quick, this is a good deal. This is really, I was excited to see that LES could bring a budget in that was under the year before and bring down the rates, even though it's close to being but it is under. The only part about this whole thing is that I'm still a little disappointed that the city is going to be taking a 10% increase in or 10% dividend fee on top of this. And so they'll be going back to the customer, so the customer will probably not see any decrease in their electrical bill. It's mostly because of the cities taking their 10% from their customers.
Any further comments? Okay, seeing none, may we please call the roll?
Beckius,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Shob,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 6B is adopting Lincoln Electric System rate schedules to become effective January 1st, 2022, introduced by McGinnis.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Councilwoman Raybold. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, may we please call the roll?
Raybold,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Shob,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. We'll move on to our Section 7 Public Hearing Ordinances Second Reading and Related Resolutions. Item 7A is amending Lincoln Municipal Code Chapter 24.12, Lincoln Plumbing Code to adopt the 2018 edition of the Uniform Plumbing Code as amended as part of the Lincoln Plumbing Code.
Chad Blaha, Building and Safety Department. Thank you, Council. This is another one of our codes that we're bringing forward to update to the next version. We're going from the 2012 to the 2018 edition. And the task force and as well as staff have both reviewed this code over the last 12 months. There's not a lot of changes. Most of the changes involved in this code adoption have to do with administrative kind of reordering of items. Very few substantive or technical changes were made either to the published codes or in the local amendments. And I don't believe there was anything other than a unanimous vote at the task force in terms of the few changes that were made. We're not proposing to raise or adjust any fees at this time with this code, so those will remain in place. I have both the current chief plumbing inspector and soon-to-be new chief plumbing inspector here for if there happen to be any technical questions in relation to this code.
Are there any questions at this time? Okay.
I would like to make a comment, though.
Okay.
Not to carry this out longer than it needs to be, but Director Blahak, I want to commend you on yet again another really good public process involving members of the trades who are impacted in the review of this. I made a lot of phone calls in the last week, and there wasn't a single plumber that I called who didn't tell me that they were on board with this and felt like these changes were fine.
That thanks belongs to Rex in the red shirt. So
all right, Rex, the red shirt. Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, seeing none, thanks so much.
Yep.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on item 7A? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to the next item then.
Move on to Section 8, ordinances third reading and related resolutions. Item 8A is Comprehensive Plan Conformance 21021, application of the Urban Development Director to review the 2040 Lancaster County Comprehensive Plan and to adopt the South 48th Street Corridor Redevelopment Plan and add the Tabitha Intergen Project for construction of a 4-story multifamily housing structure to provide independent senior housing options and housing opportunities for students enrolled in medical education programs on property generally located at South 48th and L Streets, introduced by Raybold.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Councilman Beckius. Any discussion? Councilman Shob?
I'd like to talk about both this one and the next one. I think I'll reserve my comments for this one to the next section, but so I just want to make sure that people are aware those are together.
Okay. Any other comments? Councilwoman Raybold?
I want to thank all the neighbors that have come and testified, sent emails about their concerns. I hear you, and I understand your concerns. I've rode my bike around the area a few times, and it's a beautiful neighborhood. There's no doubt about it. But I just look back on the track record of Tabitha and how they have continued to grow into the neighborhood and have been a very good partner to the neighbors. And I feel that this project will be an exemplary one, a very unique one. With the Intergen project, I think it's clearly one of its kind probably in the United States. And I think it's another way of looking at infill in our neighborhoods and does it fit into the neighborhood. And I was really pleased with the efforts that Tabitha made to add more landscaping and do the setbacks. And I felt like they are trying to be the best neighbor they can possibly be to a wonderful neighborhood. And for that reason, I am going to support it.
Councilman Beckius?
I would like to simply echo some of the comments of Councilwoman Raybold. Thank you to the neighbors for their feedback, and thank you for their persistence in making sure that their neighborhood continues to be one of the best neighborhoods in Lincoln to live. Thank you to Tabitha for bringing this new concept to our community and giving it a go. As I believe one of the neighborhood representatives said, if it were anyone else but Tabitha, we might be having a little bit of a different conversation, but I do appreciate how the building is sited adjacent to the arterial road, building a structure that encapsulates the campus on one side, I think is pivotal to getting a green light here. So as Councilwoman Raybold said, To the neighbors, we hear you, but I will be also voting for this project because I think Tabitha has demonstrated over its long history in our community that it is a true community asset and a true community partner in Lincoln.
Any further comments at this time? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on.
We can vote.
Right.
Raybold,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Item 8B is change of zone 21037, application of Tabitha Inc. for a change from R2 Residential District to R4 Residential District to an R2 and R4 PUD with associated waivers on property generally located at 4720 Randolph Street. Introduced by Raybold.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Councilman McGinnis. Any discussion? Councilman Schob?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm feeling a little silly now because I was going to say the same thing that Mr. Beckius and Councilwoman Raybold, both the council people, were going to say. I'm going to add a little bit more. The neighbors expressed their concerns. We listened. Tabitha listened. It's not exactly what they wanted, but as Mr. Beckius said, and Mr. Bagwell said at our last session, that Tabitha's reputation helps in this situation. But the neighbors, and I'm a little concerned about future developments in this neighborhood. So this is a good thing for our community. We as council people need to be vigilant with our neighborhood friends to make sure that we try to maintain the integrity of neighbors as best we can moving forward while balancing that need for more housing in our community. And I appreciate you guys coming forward and looking forward to working with you more in the future. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilwoman Ward?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have a lot more to add to what's been said, except it was very important and good to hear from the neighbors. And like Councilman Beckia said, I thought it spoke volumes when they said, if not for Tabitha, they would have felt and said a lot more different testimony than what we've been hearing. But what I will add that is different than what we've heard is I had the honor to work for Tabitha a few years beginning in 2013. And what I can tell you from my experience as a Tabitha employee is I remember leaving that office and going to work when neighbors from Witherby were coming in to meeting rooms that Tabitha offered for their neighborhood meetings. And that was just one small way that Tabitha always was reaching out and trying to be good neighbors. And that was long before the Intergen project and long before my time there. So they have worked really hard over the years to be good neighbors in all of their markets. So I'm really honored to be here today and supporting their good work. So thank you to the Tabitha staff I see in the audience for this great project, and also thanks to the neighbors for being so supportive. It's not easy getting to this point today. So thank you and best wishes.
Only comment that I want to make. Oh, Councilman Washington.
I wanted to say that I really was paying attention to what the neighbors had to offer in this, but I also was really paying attention to what Tabitha was doing. And their ability to be flexible and willing to listen to what the neighbors wanted and then make changes to siting and landscaping, I think is really important. I really appreciate that there are big businesses who are willing to be really good neighbors and to do it over the long haul. And I do not see this as a template for other projects in the same neighborhood going forward. And I promise to the neighbors who live there right now that this will not be the template for moving forward. This is because of their existing presence in the neighborhood right now and their long history of being a good neighbor. Thank you.
The only comments that I want to make are I want to echo what colleagues have said on both this item and the one prior, but I want to add that the Witherby neighborhood will always have a very special place in my heart. The Witherby neighborhood has always been friendly and has supported us as a council and us individually during some pretty hard and tough times. And even though I'm going to be supporting this, my fear is that the impression is that we're taking the Weatherby neighborhood for granted, and that we're taking your hospitality for granted, and that the council isn't receptive to your concerns and your words. But I really do hope that you hear what the council has said for this project, and that we can still continue to work together and continue to make our city and be supportive of the Weatherby neighborhood and be protectors of the Weatherby neighborhood. So thank you so much for all that you've done in the past, and I look forward to continuing to work with the Weatherby neighborhood to maintain the integrity of your neighborhood. Okay. Mila, please call the roll.
Raybold,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Bowers. Motion carried 7-0. Item 8C is Comprehensive Plan Conformance 21022, declaring approximately 1.06 acres of city-owned property generally located at the southwest corner of the intersection of 16th and N Streets N Streets as surplus. Introduced by Raybold.
So moved.
Moved and seconded by Councilman Beckius. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, may we please call the roll?
Schob,
I'm trying to convince Councilman Beckius to vote as Shob this time, but he, yes.
Councilman Show, come on.
Beckius,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Raybold,
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Okay. Section 9 is resolutions first reading are items 9A through 9Q. Section 10 is ordinances first readings and related resolutions, items 10A through 10K. Section 11, pending list date certain, item 11A, and section 12, pending list, item 12A.
Councilwoman Raybold?
I move that we adjourn and encourage everyone to stay well and get vaccinated.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Raybold, seconded by Councilman Beckius. Any discussion? Seeing none, may we please call the roll?
Raybold?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
We're adjourned.